Hey everyone, and welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. And big breaking news on multiple fronts today. The destruction at the southern border is about to get even worse and more chaotic, with illegal migrants expected to pour across the border as Title 42 protections come to an end. We have full coverage just ahead. And last night, Donald Trump visited CNN for a town hall and absolutely crushed it. I have a murder to report. Somebody call 911. CNN is dead. We're going to show you the highlights. And in just moments, War Room host, MAGA warrior, the great Steve Bannon will join us live. And later, former Trump official, America First firebrand, Peter Navarro will be here. You don't want to miss it. But first, the evidence implicating Joe Biden and the Biden crime family in a massive foreign corruption scheme is growing louder and louder because explosive revelations from the House Oversight Committee reveal that the Biden family and their business associates created a web of shady business entities and received over $10 million from foreign entities while Joe was vice president, including in China and Romania. It all raises even more questions about what the Biden family did in exchange for the money. We got to follow the money. Here's House Oversight Chairman James Comer laying it all out yesterday. Watch.
Honest with the American people. President Biden has claimed since the 2020 election that his family has not received money from China. That was a lie in 2020, and he continues to lie to the American people now. The Bidens have received millions of dollars from China. It is inconceivable that the president did not know it. The White House refuses to correct the president's statements, showing the president is now using the federal government to run interference for his families and his own role in these schemes.
But of course, we're seeing the same dirty tricks from the same bad actors, like the FBI. As we're now learning that the Bureau has refused to give Congress the subpoenaed FBI file alleging a massive Biden bribery scheme. So you're now seeing the corruption in full view. And you're also seeing the real Joe Biden, someone who puts political influence peddling above patriotism and the American people, someone who sells out the country to enrich himself and his cronies and his family, and who is not fit to hold the office of the presidency. Contrast all that to the agenda of Donald Trump, who was in top form last night, heading to New Hampshire for a town hall on CNN, where he took on the swamp, took on the media, laying out a future for a better America and more security abroad. Take a look.
Because I'll meet with Putin, I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be absolutely over.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
want Ukraine to win. You
know what I'll say? I'll say this. I want Europe to put up more money because they're in for 20 billion. We're in for 170, and they should be, and they should equalize. They have plenty of money. They should equalize.
All right, and here with his reaction, War Room host, MAGA warrior, the one and only Steve Bannon joins us. Steve, let's get your reaction to this last night. I can't stop watching it.
Look, it's full spectrum dominance. I think that a command performance, and I rate this. I had a chance to talk to the president afterwards, Kimberly, and I said that it ranked up there near St. Louis, that critical debate after Billy Bush weekend, which I believe is the single most impressive performance by any candidate ever in a debate, even Jack Kennedy against Nixon in 1960 or Ronald Reagan against Mondale or Carter. I just thought it was epic. This was it was full command of every issue, full command of himself, full command of every cheap shot question that Caitlin Collins tried to ask, and then the hectoring by Caitlin Collins, which I think, I think a lot more highly of Caitlin than that. I think it was really beneath her. And most importantly, the audience was tremendous, and of course the enthusiasm for the president and the president's policies and his answers was so great. As you saw, AOC and Joyce Behar calling a cult. These people are cult. These are American citizens. One of the reasons we go to New Hampshire is the discernment of the New Hampshire voters know how to curate and weigh and measure people. And it was just amazing. And the most important, Kimberly, because you come from a long background in broadcast journalism, they first they gave Caitlin a standing 8 count, halfway through, and they went to a break. They weren't playing, and then at the end they cut it off with 20 minutes to go. I mean, it was a mercy. They invoked the mercy. You sat through enough kids' little league games to know the mercy rule. They gave her the mercy rule.
They call the game.
They called the game with 20 minutes. I mean, sitting there going, hey, I think they're supposed to go to half past and they're going to get the panels on. The panels are totally caught by surprise. It was full spectrum dominance. And if you compare and contrast that with Biden, I also think it reinforces the point that I know you and I have talked about many times, and Don Jr., that it is absurd that the RNC is going forward, and quite frankly, a good friend of yours and mine, Dave Bossie, with these debates,
Yes.
And that it's over. This is about the country's in a crisis. You started the show with this amazing committee looking at, and we had Nancy Mace on today, Congressman Mace. She's saying that they sold out their country. She thinks right now, and she's been to Treasury to see the report, they've sold it out at the highest level. And then you have an invasion of the southern border. It's total chaos. The House GOP just tweeted out, there's tens of thousands of people pouring across. It's total chaos. Mediaite, as you know, no right-wing site, it said the Biden administration has basically given up on this. It's so overwhelming. You look at the crisis the nation's in, and you see a man like Donald J. Trump walk in last night with the command presence, understanding the facts. It was just so impressive, and I think it rejuvenated so many of our folks on our side of the football to understand not just why we're fighting this, but the urgency of the moment.
You're absolutely right. And, there was such an overwhelming feeling, last night after never bet against Trump, right? You and I tell people this all the time. He went right into the lion's den and ate everybody's head off. And that's what you need to do. That's a commander in chief. That is a real leader who actually has done the job, done it well. We know what we're getting with him. But now I have to say this in a larger point. Enough of this primary nonsense where people are going to try to spend money. Some consultants will get rich and pollsters, etc., but at a great disservice to the conservative America First movement. We need to keep our eye on the ball and go for the general election, start the ballot harvesting, get our game plan ready to win in the general. Trump's the nominee.
I've been very adamant about this, and last night reinforced it. Here's if the RNC refuses to do this and starts playing, footsie with what I call the Keebler elves. And I put Governor DeSantis in that category now because he's polling in 15 or 16%. That President Trump should just do a series on the night they do it, just go to another network, which everybody will line up. The CNN ratings, there was over 3 million people for CNN.
Best they've done.
Attracted more viewers in that hour than CNN normally does in a night of prime time. So he's a massive draw, and I quite frankly think the other ones should be on broadcast. That he should if they want to do a debate, fine. They're going to do what they're going to do. He should just do a town hall exactly at the same time with
counter program
to do it. And he just bury him. It's obscene. One last thing is that Politico had this story last week about Governor DeSantis' final day of his international trip in London and how it was a flop. He went to the city of London, which is their Wall Street, had all the great titans of finance and business in London. And as you know, that's a tough crowd.
Right.
And they just said, this is a joke. This guy's not ready for it. This is the guy that's going to take on Donald Trump. And this guy's going to beat Donald Trump and then beat Biden. And this guy's going to stand up to Putin and the mullahs. And they said, in the Political story was brutal. I had calls from people that are associated with it and said it was worse than reported. And you compared and contrast last night. To be commander in chief, to be the chief magistrate, to be the CEO and the president of the United States, you have to be able to walk in and you have to your presence has to dominate the room, and you have to dominate the decision and make things happen. You saw in his presence last night, Donald J. Trump, and this is why I think his first answer was so great. He won in 16. He had 4 years of peace and prosperity. He won again in 2020. It was stolen from him. Anybody in the world, knowing what happened to him and what they put him through, all the sham stuff, would have just retired and gone away with the beautiful wife, Melania, the great kids, the great family, yourself, Don Jr., everybody enjoyed it. Like Cincinnatus in the Roman Republic, he has come back again from nowhere. And now he fully dominates. He leads everywhere. He leads the primary. So it is, to me, right now, we must start to focus on victory and start focusing on the second term.
I could not agree more. And that's what the people want. They want to know what we're going to do to make sure that we win it, run up the score. So any cheating they try to do, it's just going to be washed out. And then to get ready immediately, take over and completely revamp CIA, DOJ, FBI, all of the important positions.
Can I break some news here?
Yes.
My strongest recommendation for White House counsel, or worst, Deputy White House counsel, is Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Oh my God.
And now, no, I'm kidding. No, because first off, a lot of people just know you from Fox, and they don't realize that you were a absolute killer prosecutor, and you're a great lawyer, and you know the law better than anybody. I actually think these are the types of people we need to start talking about are going to staff the White House or over at DOJ. If I had to pick any one person to go into DOJ and clean out that rat's nest, and you've seen this, you've seen what DOJ is now doing to Donald J. Trump is an obscenity. And most importantly, the investigation of Comer. Remember, as I talked to Nancy Mason today, there's two things going on here. One, there's obviously this investigation of the Biden family and at the highest levels and taking money from our enemies. But at the same time, remember, the documents they're reviewing, Kimberly, are from 2015 and 2016. They've been there for 6, 7, 8 years. Treasury departments had this. The Treasury investigators have had this. The DOJ have had this. The FBI. The bigger even part of the scandal is the Praetorian Guard that protects the radicals in the Democratic Party. And I think that is why you need a Kimberly Guilfoyle type.
You need killers.
You need in the Justice Department to weed out this corruption and malfeasance, and over at the White House. So we're breaking some news here.
There you go, Mike. That's all I need. Another job, but we love this country. I'll tell you that much, Bannon. Don't make me recommend you for a few. Let me tell you.
I love your show. I watch it as much as I can.
Thank you.
Right before it's 5. But here's what I like. This is not Trump movement enough. You get Kimberly Guilfoyle, Steve Bannon, followed by Peter Navarro. I mean, it's not MAGA. It's
a steamroll.
It's too light.
It's like, yeah, exactly. So let's put some more blood in the bath. So here's the deal. Did you follow after this? You see the tweet put out by the DeSantis PAC that never backed down. I'm like, okay, well, you haven't even stepped a move forward, but okay. Criticizing President Trump for talking about issues like politically motivated prosecutions. What did you make of that? It's a very bizarre reaction.
It's what I made of, and I maybe have a different take on this than you, that this is like the staff that sent DeSantis to around the world in 4 days, and clearly he's someone that can't handle that and probably has never done that. And it's one of the reasons it was such a embarrassing, as I said, humiliating trip for him. Last night, I looked at that as the amateur hour. I mean, it was just so amateurish. And I think what's the logic of the DeSantis campaign, I think, is very different than how a lot of people are perceiving it. This is about money and the making of money. That's super PAC. There are guys like Jeffrey. There are going to be other people started that's going to make 10, 20, 30 million dollars. You can't take seriously what they put out even before and after. It's such an amateurish hit. But you can see where the money of Ken Griffin can try to damage President Trump. And that's why I think that people have to really, even people that maybe not appreciate President Trump like we do, have to start thinking through the logic here. This is about a general election.
Yes.
Last night in New Hampshire, can you imagine Joe Biden on the stage with Donald Trump's a force of nature.
Brutal.
Donald Trump comes in like it's like almost like a Viking chieftain. He comes in full command of the facts, of the presence, and the people ask these great questions, the graciousness of going back and forth, the chemistry between him and the audience. I mean, it's one of the things embarrassing for CNN. The audience is not just on his side. They're clapping and cheering and, hey, this is what we want to hear. And, of course, AOC and all these people, oh, it's a cult. This is the Trump cult. I think they're called citizen voters.
Exactly.
So I think the DeSantis situation, and I think you're right to bring up that tweet and what they put out, very amateurish, dangerous in the fact of they are out to make money for themselves. And I quite frankly think that some of the big hedge fund guys in back, like Ken Griffey, Schwartzman already punched out. And Schwartzman punched out not just with meetings at DeSantis, because of what he heard from London, where these guys said, are you kidding me? This guy's president of the United States. This guy's going up against Putin. This guy's going to go up with the mullahs. This guy's going to go up against the House of Saud. This guy's going to go up against Beijing. Are you kidding me? This is a small-time governor. So, but I think the amateurishness of that tweet, and I'm telling you that there are people over there. Governor DeSantis, what Governor DeSantis should do is fulfill his term, do the great work he's trying to do in Florida, and then either join the second Trump administration or if he wants to run for president 28, go get some international experience. Don't go on a 4-day trip, really do it, and fire all these people around him, because it's an amateur hour and it's already hurt. Look, he's in the teens.
I agree.
He's in the teens. The proof
now he's with the elves.
Prices, the numbers don't lie. And I think it's even going to get worse after last night's performance by President Donald J. Trump.
I think you're absolutely right, and I'll tell you something. I think he's actually hurting himself. He was in a good position. If I was advising him, and I would say, listen, hold the line and literally say you identify as Donald Trump. Like, just change that, okay? Your pronouns are Donald J. Trump. That's what I would say. And glue yourself to him. That's it. And just support the America First agenda. Continue to focus on Florida. Go ahead and get some international credible experience. So you're seen as someone who is a viable commander-in-chief for the future. And put it all in for Trump to be able to then take it over and be the anointed one. This movement has a very long memory about people that try to go after Trump and behave like this. And if you go up against President Trump, you are going to get badly hurt. You're going to get damaged. You know how it is. You saw him go up when you were running the show with 16 people. It's brutal. Those nicknames still stick. Why would you want to subject yourself to that? Why? Because you're getting bad advice and people are blowing smoke up your ass and telling you that your time is now so that they can get rich and they can put all money in and they can get consulting fees and all of this and pollsters at the expense of the America First movement and the Conservative Party and our Republican candidate. It makes so little sense to me because it's just selfishness and avarice behind it.
And I think people have to understand this is much worse than 16. Now we understand the corporatists, the oligarchs in Silicon Valley, the equity lords on Wall Street combined with this uniparty, how dangerous. The country's in a crisis. Look at today, the invasion of the border. It's been happening for years, but it's now full on. There's no defense. The situation in Ukraine, the situation with Beijing and Taiwan, the capital markets, they're over negotiating, playing pity pat on this debt ceiling. President Trump came out, he said, let's call their bluff. We either get massive cuts and get this thing in order, or hey, go ahead and shut it down. Remember, Treasury and the president have to default on the debt. He said, Trump last night said, let's call their bluff. That's leadership, and it's so much dangerous now. That's why I think people have to understand. We are taking names because now there's no debate. We need to stop the destruction. We used to have the managed decline of this country, which President Trump stopped in 2016. Now we have the absolute collapse of our republic, from the capital markets to the economy to the southern border to the family, across the board. These are, as President Trump, as you know, has got this famous saying, no games. Right now, this is no games. If you're going to do this and you're going to come against Trump and you're doing it obviously for money, there's no free shot on goal. And don't think there's a way back, because there's no way back, because this is too serious and it's too cut and dry to play games with people.
Yeah, and I think last night was like a big exclamation point to that. I always say that too. No free shot on goals. And people who try to do it or think they can do it, they need to be punished and put down, just so you know. I mean, I'm very serious about this, and I tell people that, but everyone knows, don't take free shot on goal on me. You better not take it on our president, and you are someone who's an obstructionist. You're against this country if you aren't for this for him. He is the nominee. He will win the primary. He will smash everyone. You will be in a body bag if you try to go against him. I am dead serious. And now let's go and get the Occupier fire in the White House, Joe Biden the hell out of there. That's what needs to happen. Focus on it. Eyes on the prize. All right. So you always say to pay attention to the signal and not the noise. What are the big signals right now that the folks at home need to be paying attention to?
I think the signals are the economy, the southern border. One of the signals I want to say last night, and this is why I appreciated her first question. People that so much has come from the election of 2020. And I think one of the first questions that have to be asked all these other pretenders is because the elections have consequences. Stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. And everything gets back to the original sin of allowing this. You talk about ballot harvesting, allowing this election to be stolen by an individual who got 74 million votes. I believe the question for all these other pretenders right now are two things. Number one, did Donald J. Trump win the presidency on 3 November of 2020? And question number two, is Joe Biden a legitimate or illegitimate president? And they have to ask those questions. The correct answers are Donald John Trump won his second term on 3 November of 2020, and Joe Biden is illegitimate. And that illegitimacy has funneled through and metastasized through every action he's taken. It's the reason that the leaders of the world do not take him seriously. It's the reason he's not treated respect when he goes to Saudi Arabia. It's the reason Beijing won't take his phone call, his administration. The reason Putin will invade a country on his watch. The reason that the mullahs in Persia build nuclear weapons and they rain terror on Israel. They do not consider him legitimate. And you can see this in every aspect of it. That's why he has no stake in the sovereignty of the United States on the southern border. Every aspect of his regime comes through that original sin of that, and we can never allow it to happen again. The signal here, there's so many, but number one, if we want to have a republic, the same republic that was bequeathed to us from 12 or 13 generations, we're going to have to make sure that under no circumstances will we allow these criminals to steal it again in 2024. And that's what everybody should be focused on. And I hope last night galvanized everybody to say, hey, this guy is on fire and he is focused and he's ready. This is a command performance. He's a force of nature. And all of MAGA should now lock arms, lock shoulders, and let's get work. Let's get to work.
I couldn't agree more. I'm going to see him tonight, and he did sound very good last night. We were able to speak to him. I think he's pretty fired up, but you need a person like him that's that strong and battle-tested, to be that focused. He believes in himself. He's comfortable in his own skin, and he knows who the hell he is, which is a big difference from Joe Biden. Final just thoughts here real quick before we let you go is just what is the Steve Bannon strategy to put Donald J. Trump back in the White House?
I think the strategy is more populist, more nationalism, what he laid out last night. Those answers, we put down all the questions in a mashup. There were 8 questions. And CNN only had 12 minutes to answer all 8 when you spread it out. His answers were magnificent. If you want to see the economic policy, if you want to see the national security policy, I mean, off the top of his head, who would have answered, hey, the reason we got to stop the Ukraine war now is there's too many dead Russians and Ukrainians. We must bring peace. He's a peacemaker. He's a deal maker. He's got foresight. He gave us 4 years of peace and prosperity. You know, and I say this to people, if you hate the sound of his name or hate the sound of his voice, if you're not somebody that respects him and admires him, tell me who else would have given you 4 years of peace and prosperity in a very turbulent time. And now with the chaos through the world, if you want anarchy and chaos, not just in our own country, but throughout the world, just let's keep doing what we're doing. If you want to return to stability, if you want to return to order, if you want to return to prosperity and peace, President Trump is the guy, and he's very unique. And I've told people when they pray at night should thank God that this individual, after they stole the White House from him, after he got 74 million votes, had enough courage and enough belief in his country and enough patriotism to say, you know what, I'm going to come back, we're going to win this again, and I'm going to come back to the White House, and we're going to set this thing right. So right now, that's the only thing that matters. What people should be focused on is the return of President Trump to the White House.
Peace and prosperity. Absolutely. Well said, my friend. Thank you so much. Steve Bannon, the one and only host of the fantastic show, The War Room. What a pleasure to have you on the program, and I'll see you soon. Speak again soon. Okay, and make sure you like and subscribe down below so you never miss an episode, and make sure to download the Rumble apps. If you like that with Bannon, Hit the like button now, and you know who we got coming up too in just moments, Peter Navarro. So much more to come, including coverage of Donald Trump's CNN town hall last night. We'll get the hot takes from Peter Navarro coming up, but I want to thank one of our brave sponsors, Goldco, because gold and silver can protect your retirement savings from inflation and dollar devaluation. We see all the economic warning signs, and I want you to be ready. I am ready. With Goldco, you can roll over your 401k or IRA into precious metals and safeguard your savings tax and penalty free. From precious metals, IRAs to direct purchases of gold and silver, Goldco has helped thousands of Americans diversify and protect their retirement savings. So go to kimsmetals.com to learn more. That's kimsmetals.com. And I also want to bring you a special message from Patriot Lifestyle, where you can save more and spend less on a whole host of different benefits, from non-insurance healthcare benefits to savings on travel, identity theft, legal services, and even pet care. Take a look. Kimberly Guilfoyle. We've commissioned a lifestyle benefit program for our America First Patriots, Patriot Lifestyle. This program includes identity theft protection. And as a former prosecutor, I know that identity theft is the fastest growing crime in America. You also have free and discounted legal services, roadside assistance, travel discounts, cashback rewards while shopping on the internet, and our newest service, Pet Assure. Right, Mario and Luigi? Where you receive discounts at veterinarians across the country and pet supply stores. Patriot Lifestyle covers you, your family, and your furry friends for less than $1 a day. Follow the link and please sign up to get your Patriot Lifestyle started. And we'll continue to update you on all the Patriot Lifestyle programs designed to bring you the best savings and top quality benefits. Now, last night, Donald Trump went into enemy territory on CNN to expose Biden's failures and how he can fix the border crisis. He stressed the need for honest and fair elections and righting all of Biden's wrongs. Take a look.
It's a shame that what happened. I think it's a very sad thing for our country. I think it's a very sad thing, frankly, for the world, because if you look at what's gone to our country has gone to hell. Our borders are bad. Our military has been bad. You look at the taxes, you look at inflation, what's happened to inflation. It's just destroying our country. We've really become, in many ways, a third world country. And it's very sad what's happened in this administration. And it's something that will turn around on day one. We were energy independent. Now energy is at a level that we've never had to pay before. Nobody can afford to continue to pay what's happening with energy. But we were energy independent. We were getting out of Afghanistan with strength and with dignity. And instead we got out, we looked like fools, probably the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
And meanwhile, Biden is finding even more ways to destroy America's sovereignty and national security. Now ending Title 42 border protections, which is likely to usher in even more chaos, crime, and human suffering into the country. Now remember, under Joe Biden, every state is a border state. And in a new piece for the Washington Times, Peter Navarro lays out how the Democrats have gone all in on an open border strategy to try and reign politically supreme. With great pleasure, we have the one and only Peter Navarro joining us now to explain more, talk about that article, the debate, all of the above. It's such a pleasure to have you on the program, Peter.
Hey, G, I remember the last time I saw you was at the Trump Hotel in D.C. We were doing a little fundraiser, and it was more fun than a barrel of monkeys. Fundraisers should always be that fun. Great to see you again. The border issue, I want to take you back in time, back into the White House and the Oval Office when I was with President Trump. But most of the folks know me either as the manufacturing dude or the China hawk. But there was this really interesting point in time where a couple of years into the administration, we were really struggling with trying to close the border down because of all of these Obama judges. Dolly G is probably the poster girl for that, who had made these really bad rulings, which did the institutionalized catch and release, institutionalized child trafficking. And the boss was he was beside himself with all it. And we came up with a cool idea to threaten Mexico with tariffs if they did not adopt what's called safe third nation agreements, which is that they would keep the illegals on their side of the border until they were processed, which takes a long time. So heads exploded for 24 hours when the boss threatened that. But Mexico, sure enough, sent troops to the border, signed those agreements. We were able to parlay that into similar agreements with the Northern Triangle countries, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. And that at the time is different now because of Biden. At the time, that was over 90% of the problem. And we secured the border virtually overnight. Of course, one of the first things, Kimberly, that Biden did when he got into office was get rid of those. And I don't think he fully understood, or maybe he did, the magnitude of the catastrophe that would be faced. The problem we have, and yes, every town is a border town here in America now. The problem we have is this problem in economics with concentrated benefits to a small number of corporate and Wall Street interests who benefit from that cheap labor coming across the border. And politically, they give a lot of money to the Congress. And so we get that kind of status quo versus the diffuse costs across the entire population. It's the crime, the drugs, the fentanyl. It's the emergency rooms that have become pediatric wards for illegals. It's the just all the schools that are overcrowded. You spent a lot of time in California. You were at the front lines there. You know what I'm talking about. And right now, the only hope really is DJT, Donald John Trump, getting back there in 2024, because the politics are so toxic right now that I don't see a way out. And that's what that Washington Times article was about. I want to just put a quick plug in for my Substack. It's peternavarro.substack.com, peternavarro.substack.com. The reason why I mention it is that the Washington Times, which I think has the best commentary section in the country right now, is running my Substack article once a week. And I'm honored that they would put that in there.
Fantastic. Good. Yeah, that's an accomplishment. Well done. Now we just got to get people to read it and make sure and pay attention, because people really have to arm themselves with the facts about what's really going on out there, because the mainstream media is not, doing the job. But speaking of that, wow, President Trump, Donald John Trump, went right into the belly of the beast with CNN last night and that town hall. You heard Bannon and I talking about it. But what was your takeaway from it? How did you think he did? And what were the most important messages that he got across?
Well, look, my take on the performance is exactly the same as yours and Steve's. It was clearly just total strategic domination of the issues. I mean, President Trump has so much experience. I think he prefers going into hostile environments. I think it gets him at the top of his game, to be honest. You know that as well.
I think you're right.
Let me sound a cautionary note. I actually wrote in my last book, Taking Back Trump's America, there was a whole section on the media and how Fox had sold us down the river to the rhinos. And at one point, I recommended that the boss reach out to CNN in particular. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And clearly Fox and CNN are enemies. And I thought, and I continue to think, that with the new management at CNN, somehow they can become more open-minded to the whole MAGA movement and what we're trying to do, because it really is at the center of the country. So here's what I'm worried about. There's just too many people like beating their chest, sounding victory laps, and I'm worried about a backlash inside CNN itself. I mean, clearly, the next time President Trump's going to be on, any one of those CNN people are going to have to be kind of like, they're going to have to show that they're the true blue. That worries me. And I go back to, I think the worst mistake my good buddy at the time, Brad Parscale, ever made was to get on CBS 60 Minutes and effectively claim credit for the 2016 win and divulge that both Facebook and Twitter had employees inside the Trump campaign who were helping the Trump candidacy. And that set in motion a backlash, which created the Zuckerberg problem in 2020 at Facebook, where he spent, Kimberly, I don't know if you know this, Mark Zuckerberg spent more in the battleground states during the 2020 election than the Trump campaign did. Think about that.
Yeah, no, I believe it. And I saw the movie too.
Yeah, so what I would prefer is a little bit of humility here, and just recognize that this was a command performance, and to thank CNN for basically doing that and encourage them. I'm worried about the backlash. That's my first thought. I like to play the long game here. I'd love to see CNN emerge as a centrist network that could take on Fox and
would be good.
Suck them a little dry, because you and I both know it. You're canceled, I'm canceled,
Everyone's
Don
canceled.
Jr.'s canceled,
It feels
Eric's
so
canceled,
good to be canceled.
Cash Patel's canceled. We're all canceled, so we're doing this, and it's great. But those people are bad people at Fox News right now running it, and so if we can divide and conquer, that'd be a good thing.
That's a good approach. I mean, and CNN used to be more like that. I used to work for CNN. I have some people that I really like there a lot, that are some producers and some of the management that's still there that actually is good. It used to be a very respected network. I mean, they really have an opportunity at a moment of time to do something that's important and really speak to the centrist base, of the country. People are more moderate, libertarians, independents, and seize that mantle. I mean, that's what they should be looking at as that opportunity, and we should be open to be able to, go on there and do that, especially with some of the, employment and hiring decisions that they have been making. So I want to talk to you about 2024.
Yes.
Where do you think 2024 race, stands, today? There's a number of people that we know that are running, that want to be, Nikki Haley, DeSantis is really pretty much, running. Tim Scott, who knows if Rick Scott will get in, Pompeo. There's a whole host. So where do you think the race stands? And then I'll ask you where you think the MAGA movement is winning and where we could improve.
Well, I think the race at this point is over unless something untoward happens. Trump has won the primary effectively, and what he's doing, and this is the smart thing to do, is he's running now as if it were already a general election, which is to say that he's going back to his 2016 Bannonite roots, running as a populist, a nationalist, and of trying to appeal to independents and the folks that I was mostly charged with making sure they came into the Trump camp, which is the so-called Trump blue collar lunch pail Democrats. I was the manufacturing czar. My concern was getting our factories humming. So I think he's running a good campaign there. DeSantis, early on, I thought he might be a good VP candidate and he shouldn't challenge the boss. I think he's kind of ruined any kind of sense of that.
That should have failed.
And I think I agree with you and Steve. It would be insane for the boss to get up on a debate stage with those people and let them, because look, they're just water boys and girls for the Wall Street hedge fund money and the corporates who are trying to take the boss down. I saw enough of that in the White House. If I never see Steve Schwartzman again, it'll be good for the country. Okay, that guy needs to be gone. So this is how the race is shaping up nicely. It's clearly going to be a race where I'm hoping it's the economy. I wrote a little monograph that's coming out in Post Hill Press shortly that talks about the red wave that never happened in 2020. And I think one of the things folks like you and I have to do, Kimberly, is to explain very clearly what MAGA represents. Joe Biden turned MAGA into a four-letter word. And that's inexcusable that we have let him get away with that. And so I talk about deputizing everybody in the MAGA movement as ambassadors to explain what we represent. We represent a strong American manufacturing and defense industrial base that you get to through things like Buy American, Hire American, and tariffs. We represent secure borders. We represent an end to endless wars. I mean, that's the populist economic nationalist triangle. And the more we can explain that MAGA is good and pure and God, family, and country, and peace and prosperity and security, the better off we'll have a chance of winning. So my mission, and that's partly why I've got the Substack going, is to kind of get these messages out
there, sure.
about the race.
No, absolutely, it's super important. I want to go touch base now also on Biden and the Biden, crime family. Just the juxtaposition here is just unbelievable, and also the hypocrisy and what we've seen with our weaponized governmental institutions. What do you think is the most explosive piece of evidence we've gotten from the Oversight Committee about, just how corrupt this Biden family is and the influence peddling?
Clearly, it's the communist Chinese angle is the one that should worry us most and is the most treasonous kind of activity. The Ukraine stuff is just pure corruption. But the depth of the Chinese communist playbook in terms of they do honeypots like Eric Swalwell with his Chinese mistress. They do moneypots and honeypots with Hunter Biden. And it's just it continues to trouble me that the media is trying to soft pedal this, whether it's the Morning Joes and Mikas of this world or whatever. It's like this rises above partisan politics. This is so corrupt that it really needs to be aired. And look, I have concerns about the Republicans' efforts to really get the job done. And, we'll see what happens. I mean, the other thing like you had Steve Bannon on, you had me on, like, they're trying to put us in prison. All I was doing was my duty to my country, my Constitution, our Constitution, and my commander in chief. And yet this weaponization of the entire bureaucracy, even as Hunter Biden roams free, I mean, it's a joke. It's just a joke. So I wish that the Congress committees were a little bit more mindful and vocal about that whole situation. The juxtaposition, Kimberly, I don't know if they're going after you. You got the subpoenas or not, but they gone after everybody I served with in the White House that was of any consequence. And then part of the people they went after and co-opted were people who were in there who never should have been in there to begin with. They were never Trumpers from the day they got in there and caused nothing but trouble.
What a shame, huh? Undermined the whole thing. Just total global elitists and just swamp people establishment, undermine Trump every day. He'd literally say to go do something and they would go walk out that room and not do what he asked.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened. It's, say yes and do no. Drove me nuts. Mnuchin, Kudlow, Gary Cohn, just a whole slew of these people in there. And I'll just say this. They brought in the wrong family members in there. Okay, I'm just saying that just didn't work out. And, next time I hope it's different.
All right. Well, let's see. I mean, people work hard. They're well-intentioned. Let's see.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the FBI. And people really want to know, and I've talked to Kash Patel a lot about this, can the FBI be reformed?
No, it has to be broken up.
Okay.
It has to be totally dismantled and rebuilt from the ground up. It's a culture of absolute corruption. My situation, they took me at an airport with 5 FBI armed agents, put me in leg irons when all they would have had to do, and what as a lawyer is the usual procedure. You just call me up and say, hey, we got a warrant, come on in. Okay. But I'm just the tip of the iceberg. It's like they go into Mar-a-Lago and do that kind of crap. But here's the reason why it's broke. It's not because of me. It's not because of what they're doing to Donald Trump now. It's because this goes back to 2016 before Trump even got elected. And you can look at the whole arc of events and all of the people the FBI went after. Whether I'm going to be on a stage tomorrow with my good friend General Mike Flynn down at the Doral at the Reawaken America tour, and they took him out of the game early. That really hurt the country. It hurt the boss.
They did it
had
on purpose.
The Russia hoax.
They did it on
had
purpose.
The impeachments. Yeah. It's like it's these people. They're partisan, and they think that they're God, and they're just weaponized, and that can't. Yeah, you can't fix that. What I'd love to see is, like, save your emails, boys and girls over there, because just like you went after us, we need to find out exactly who was telling you what to do, because there's just so many things wrong, and it's just, we live in a country where this shouldn't be happening. They just arrested, I'm an international kind of watch the news. They just arrested the ex-president in Pakistan, right? With the military. It was like a violent kind of move on this guy, simply because they didn't want him to become prime minister again. Does that sound familiar? Okay.
Yes.
That's what's happened in Pakistan.
Exactly.
It's like, what's the difference between that and what the FBI does? Nothing.
Same. Yeah, it's outrageous, but that's the country we've become. Look, we got a border in total chaos. We have massive corruption scandal with the Biden family and influence peddling that's making us less safe at home, really a national security threat. We have an economy on the edge of total collapse, and a president who is declining rapidly, doesn't even know who he is really not fit to hold office. That's the Democrat Party today. What does that say about this and the general election?
Well, what it says is that we live now in an ends justify the means world, and it's both the corporate media and it's the Democrat Party. And look, if I had one piece of advice for the Republican National Committee, which I have little faith and respect for based on history, the one thing we have to do as a party is to learn how to do what the Democrats are doing with the absentee voter model. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We have taken great pride in like, we're game day voters. We show up on election day. But the problem with that, from a probabilistic point of view, is that on any given game day, right, things can go wrong. Like your kid gets sick, you get sick, you got something you got to do at work, something happens. Or in the case of Kerry Lake in Arizona, that's the purest case of a stolen election I've ever seen, because all they had to do was shut down the voting machines in Maricopa County.
Yeah, they pulled the plug
and suppress the vote. So we've got to learn to stuff the ballot box with legal votes, as well as they've learned to stuff them with illegal votes. Right. And if we don't do that,
the ballot harvest. Yeah.
The other thing I would tell you, giving free advice here, but this is valuable advice. It's like, forget about the national polls. I don't give a whit whether Donald Trump is leading nationally in the polls. I know he's going to do that. What I care about is Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And if we don't win all of them, we are not going to win the election. And so I think this has to be a battleground state mentality. The boss has got to focus on that. We've got to focus on that. And everything. I was talking to Clay Clark. I love this guy. He does the Reawaken tour and he works with Eric on this. And starting in some months, when we get into the election season, they're going to be doing a tour a month, right? It's like, okay, make sure that you go to the battleground states, okay? We don't want to be singing to the choir. That doesn't do us any good. We've got to fight. And Michigan, man, that place should be ours, and it's not. It's because they've got so much corruption there, and we got to fight back. And every one of those states, Kimberly, has a different.
Okay, I think we just lost our feed on Peter Navarro. Seemed to be frozen right there. All right, well, we'll have him back again soon, but he's got a good position there. All right, so that was Peter Navarro coming in for us here on the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show. We want to thank him for being on. You can go check out more for him on his Washington Times article and on his Substack, okay? And we'll continue following all of his work. And in closing tonight, contrast the revelations surrounding the corruption of Joe Biden with the vision laid out by Donald Trump. Joe Biden used his office and his political status to profit and benefit himself and his family, while Donald Trump did the exact opposite. Donald Trump faced the years-long Russia hoax when it was Joe Biden all along who was doing dirty deals with foreign nationals. So ask yourself, what do you want from your leaders? Do you want lower costs, lower crime, wage growth, energy independence, safety abroad, and so much more? Or do you want the managed decline we're seeing under Biden and the crippling inflation and the destruction of the border and America's sovereignty? The choice could not be clearer. America first or America last. And there will be so much more to cover, and we will cover it all, continuing to bring you the latest right here on Rumble, where we reject the false narrative and we always seek the truth. Be sure, if you enjoyed this episode, to like it. If you can do it right now, click on there and subscribe to my channel on Rumble at Kimberly Guilfoyle. Turn on notifications, download that Rumble app, hit that like button, tell all your friends so they know exactly where to find us. And also be sure to follow me across all platforms, Twitter and Truth Social. You just saw that up a moment ago, Facebook and Instagram. And don't miss Don Jr.'s big show at 6 p.m. Eastern with a MAGA superstar and a great friend of ours and a combat veteran, Florida Congressman Corey Mills. He is a superstar and someone to watch and keep your eye on. And in the meantime, hop on over to locals at kimberly.locals.com for a live Q&A. Hope you have a wonderful and blessed evening, and I hope all of you moms out there have a beautiful Mother's Day. God bless you and your families. I will see you right here on Monday.